This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Welcome into the Spring Football Show here on the Sports Source Digital Network. Alongside VFL Ollie Lane, I'm Ryan Callahan of GoVols247.com. Ollie, I thought we'd be here to wrap up the orange and white game on Saturday, talk about spring practice, what we have seen and what we didn't see from this team, just a little general talk about Tennessee football. Instead, we're here to talk about a quarterback search. Tennessee suddenly and unexpectedly finds itself in the market for a starting quarterback or some other quarterback of some sort, with Nico Iamaleava having left the program and expected to enter the transfer portal after it opens Wednesday morning. So, Ollie, where to begin with this? Let's just start with from a player's perspective. Obviously, this turned into a mess last week with Nico not showing up for practice Friday morning, the walkthrough before the spring game, after the reports came out Thursday that he was supposedly negotiating a new NIL deal going into this season. From your perspective, what do you make of that situation? How would you have handled that and seen that as a player in the locker room? You weren't in this locker room, but you've been in that locker room before. How would you have handled this, or how would you have seen this from your perspective, and how do you think this went over in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, it'd make me frustrated. Honestly, it'd make me a little angry because, I don't understand it. I understand that the landscape of college football has changed, that players are getting paid and all this stuff, and it's great. It's a great thing to have. The players have been in a position where they haven't been rewarded as much as they should for what they do. However, at the end of the day, understand, one, your asking price, and then two, also understand that you're still part of a team. The thing that drives me nuts is, college is the point in time of an athlete, like you mature, you become an adult, you grow up. I mean, these are still 18, 19-year-old kids making now multi-million-dollar decisions. The thing that frustrates me the most is that the way he handled it, it's almost like he just walked all over our program. And I mean, as a player, I take a lot of pride, and as a VFL, I take a lot of pride in the volunteer football program. I mean, Tennessee's football program means everything to me, and just to watch these athletes come in and start walking all over these programs, I mean, I love what Coach Heupel said. You're not bigger than the program. Nobody's bigger than the Power T. And I mean, that's just kind of how you got to handle the business. I understand that there's business aspects of it that you have to handle personally, and if there is, it's fine. That's what you got to do. But at the end of the day, if your portal doesn't open until Wednesday, you're still a Vol. You're still expected to be at practice, and you're still expected to be the leader of the team. As the quarterback, you are the leader. He was the chosen leader of this team, and then as you see, your leader just leaves you high and dry. That puts a really bad taste in your mouth. I mean, you can't get around that guy. I'm sure a bunch of people will say, wish him the best, all this. You do wish him the best, but at the same time, like, you've burned a bridge here. I mean, your relationships here at Tennessee are over. Nobody's going to look at you or respect you the same. I mean, for me personally, my whole ideology of Nico and his personality has completely changed over the last few days. Yeah. When he came in, there was comments like, oh, the $8 million man and all this. And, he came in, acted humble, didn't act like that was any part of his personality. And now it's just all coming out. And it's just it's disappointing. And then, I mean, just to put on the aspect of those guys in that locker room, I mean, you rallied around this guy for a whole season last year. You started to rally around him this spring, and then he just leaves you. I mean, sure, it may not have been the most magical spring that anybody's ever had, but at the same time, you can't just leave a team high and dry, especially when you're the expected leader. So, I mean, it's really, really frustrating. It's hard to put it into words because it's a new territory that we're all kind of going into with player holdouts. I mean, we've had situations in the past where players miss practice or hold out for something, but I mean, it normally other reasons that go into that isn't just money.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, seeing it just strictly as a money-focused move, that's not what football's about. Yeah. You probably ask guys in the NFL too, yes, money's a big aspect for it, but they're not playing football in the NFL for the money. They're playing it because they love the game of football. And that, to me, just shows me that the money's more important to you than just playing the game.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on it there. How common are practice no-shows? Is this something that happens periodically? We don't always hear about it. And is that on its own a dismissal level type offense when it happens? Is it that big of a deal? I mean, Josh Heupel kind of mentioned in his post-game comments Saturday, he knew it was over essentially when he didn't show up for practice and when he didn't take phone calls from Tennessee that day. Is the missing practice on its own the big thing, or was it more about the whole picture here?
I feel like the missing practice thing is a big thing for the player perspective. As a player, especially as a quarterback, you miss practice that day. I mean, that sends shockwaves through everybody. We've had smaller positions where guys held himself out of a practice for this reason or the other. And I mean, that is what it is. It gets dealt with. It's not as highlighted on a big scope as it is your star quarterback's not here.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it makes it, to me, as if I was a coach, yes, it'd be a dismissal level kind of action. However, at the end of the day, I'm not the coach, so I don't get to make those decisions. And so, I mean, you kind of base it off of who you think that guy is. But, I mean, it happens very rarely. So that's why there's not a lot of experiences to talk about that, because I mean, it doesn't happen often. I mean, the most time a guy will miss practice because he overslept. It's not because he just decided not to go to practice that day. And then, I mean, like I said, when you put it on that he's the leader, the star quarterback, you know, everything revolves and goes through him, and he's not there, well, that just opens a big vacuum in the practice field that day that everybody notices, even if they're not even anywhere. The specialists noticed that he wasn't at practice, and the specialists have nothing to do with everybody else. So it's just, there's not enough words to describe the feeling that it gives you, and just the whole, I mean, it's just surprising. It's shocking. It's a shocking development that has happened in college football.
And certainly not the first time a starting quarterback has left over money, but for it to happen this way with an NFL-style holdout, I mean, Carson Beck obviously left Georgia this offseason, goes to Miami. We've seen plenty of guys transfer, but just for it to happen this way, it obviously sent shockwaves around the country and left players upset. You know, Miles Kitselman and Arion Carter both spoke after the spring game Saturday, and they sounded like they're ready to rally around this team with who's here. But we're gonna look at the depth chart here at the quarterback position. And obviously, you can just throw this one out. No need to keep that one there. So Tennessee's left with these two guys: Jake Merklinger, redshirt freshman, and George McIntyre, the true freshman. We got to see them a little bit in the spring game, and we'll get to that in a minute. Where do you think? I mean, this is what we've heard so far suggests Tennessee is clearly going to get a quarterback of some sort, and Josh Heupel admitted that basically after the spring game. But we don't know. Are they going to? It's after spring practice, and a lot of guys have already moved on to different schools earlier this year in the transfer portal. Other guys are entrenched at their schools, going into maybe make or break years in terms of getting to the NFL draft. Is it a big factor? You think that these guys might not want to leave where they are and learn a new offense in 4 months? That would seem like a deterrent that might be working against Tennessee here as they try to find someone in the transfer portal. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, it makes no sense to me why you would transfer after the spring. You just pretty much wasted a whole semester learning an offense or a system that you're not going to run, and now you're going to crunch yourself into learning something in a summer and a fall before you actually put it out for the product in the season. So, I mean, it makes no sense why you transfer in the spring. And two, I mean, you're not going to get some guy that I feel like would be 100% confident to go out there and run an offense with only having a summer of learning it. I mean, you get fall camp to get a little taste of running it live action. But, I mean, the spring is very valuable for guys that are looking to make big impacts in the fall. Most of the time when you bring guys in the summer, to me, it's more of I got this guy, I'm going to work on him throughout the season. He'll be ready to roll in spring, and then this next season is going to be his season. You're not looking at a guy in the summer and saying, this is my guy, I'm going to teach him everything he knows in 3 months, and then he's going to go out there and beat Alabama. It doesn't happen that way. I mean, some cases it might for the people that are extremely intelligent and can function that way. But, I mean, for everybody, it doesn't work that way. For me, it was difficult enough to learn the entire Chaney offense and then switch it to Heupel's offense when he got here. That was a difficult transition. And, I mean, that took a year to fully understand what the offense was asking for. And so, I mean, to me, I think as a team, you got to realize that, I want to get someone in, obviously, to replace the vacuum. But you also want to have 100% confidence that who's ever out there running it knows what they're doing for 100% fact. Because, I mean, especially with the way our offense works, I mean, you got to have a guy back there that can have that complete control and command to really see what this offense can be capable of.
So let's look at the possibilities that are out there. Unfortunately, the transfer portal doesn't officially open until after the recording of this show, so we'll have to wait and see which players officially do enter the portal. Some players have indicated that they plan to enter the portal, but not a lot in the way of big names at the quarterback position so far, so we'll have to wait and see what options end up being out there. And, of course, the unspoken thing about this is there are conversations that go on behind the scenes all the time in the transfer portal. Players get talked into the transfer portal through various intermediaries and things like that. So there are things you can do in that gray area that exist when it comes to transfer portal dealings, but we don't know basically what's possible for Tennessee and what's not. So let's start with the possibility that they do find a new starter from the transfer portal, and it's a proven guy with some experience at another school. You touched on it. It's hard to do, but Tennessee has done it before. Joe Milton came in year one under Josh Heupel and was the starter after arriving in the spring. I guess you saw that one up close. You know, is that a big issue if that happens? And how I guess, is that plan A to you if you're looking at it from Tennessee's perspective? If you're Josh Heupel, you saw these guys out here Saturday. Is your plan A, hey, let's go get a starter? We need somebody new that can give this team a chance to make the college football playoff.
And it's like my plan A-B. I don't know. I want to say, as I already touched on, it's hard to learn something over a summer. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it can be done, but it's not to a full-fledged effect. I mean, that first year that Joe was in here, he didn't get to full production quality, and then Hendon came in after that, and then you saw what happened. So I think when you're looking to bring in a guy as a starter, you still have to think about the guys that are there. How are they going to react to that? They're two highly touted guys that were recruited very heavily, so they expect the opportunity to get to play. And then, too, if you're going to go out and pay the money for a starter, obviously you don't want to go pay the money and then get a bust. Yep. You don't want to go pay the money and then the guy that you had ends up starting over him anyway. But you also, again, don't want to create those ruffles in that quarterback room. Mm-hmm. And then, you also got to look at the forefront of the future. Well, you're bringing in another 5-star next year. And so pretty much you're just saying these 2 4-stars that you picked up aren't going to matter as much now that you got this 5-star coming in.
Yep.
But then, then you add into learning the offense, being effective, understanding what all needs to be done and what's being asked of you as the quarterback. It's hard to learn all that in a summer and also build chemistry, understand who your offensive line is, who your best targets at wide receiver are, how you're going to use your running back in protection. There's a lot of stuff that goes into playing the quarterback position. And so, looking at someone, if you're going to go with a portal starter, you got to get someone that's got, 1, a really good resume, and 2, is proven to be able to adjust fast. You want someone that's going to be able to adjust to your scheme very quickly, because you don't want to spend the whole summer teaching them everything and then not really getting to work with them on the extra stuff that you're going to need in the season. Because, it's one thing to get everything taught and you know it, but then now there's all these other little intricate details that you can start messing with once you got a guy that's 100% knowledge, knows everything. Yep. But you can't do that if you're still trying to learn the playbook. Mm-hmm. So
lots of possibilities out there. So that's the one I think fans are starting with, mm-hmm. and I've heard everything across the spectrum. But let's entertain for a second the possibility that Tennessee goes and gets a portal guy, but it's maybe not a starter. It's maybe a guy that's been a starter somewhere else at a lower level program, but maybe it's someone that would be behind Jake Merklinger on the depth chart and would give them another option ahead of George McIntyre, a guy who's just mm-hmm. arrived on campus a few months ago and talented, but maybe not ready just yet. That seems like a realistic possibility based on what I've heard so far, and that's one that I don't think fans are looking at too much because shiny new toy. You want to go get the expensive guy in the portal, and you want to replace Nico with someone that feels like a similar level quarterback. But I think this option's out there too. I'm not sure that's what plan A for Tennessee, but I think it is in play, and that's an interesting one to me because this could be maybe a group of 5 guy, mm-hmm. An FCS guy, that there are options, or maybe even a guy who didn't win a starting job somewhere else but you think has some talent and gives you some potential as a backup. Your thoughts on bringing in someone like that? Is that a bad idea?
I feel like that's the better plan, in my opinion. I think it'd be better to go out there and be like, all right, I'm going to go get someone. I'm going to go get someone good, but maybe not the best. And I'm going to have a true quarterback competition this summer.
Oh, so you'd have a competition, not just
I would say, probably you'd bring him in with the ideas that one of the 2 that I've already got is going to be my guy, and mm-hmm. he's going to fall in somewhere in between. But you can also use that as a way of, you're not going to sell this guy the dream that you're going to come in and be the starter, but hey, you can come in, you can work for it, and you have the opportunity to be the starter. I think that creates good competition within the room mm-hmm. and doesn't just make it feel like, whoa, he's gone, next man up mentality. And why it needs to be like that in some situations, in a situation when you got time to build to it, you want to open it back up for another competition, because then that breeds the best of the best, and you're going to see these guys go out there and give their best effort every single day to earn that job. And so I think that's how you're going to get the best production out of that quarterback room at this point, is just bringing someone in that's you give them the notion that you can go out and earn it, mm-hmm. but we're not expecting you to earn it because we already got these 2 highly touted guys, and they go out there and they just work hard. And the 3 of them together could end up building something to where one of them is really good because they have the input and the collection of all 3 of them working together, competing against one another. So I think it would breed a better environment versus going out and shelling all this money out on some big, fancy, top-shelf kind of guy. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we should cut ourselves short and not if it's a available possibility. However, I think you create more ruffles in that quarterback room if you bring in someone automatically over the top. I've always felt that way when you bring in these guys from the transfer portal and just throw them over the top of the guys that have been there and that have kind of put in the work and the effort to make the team what it is. But at the same time, I think if you bring a guy in to compete, it breeds a more competitive nature, thus making each one of them indirectly better than they were before.
Now, real quickly before we move on to just some general observations about some guys that stood out this spring, let's talk just briefly about these guys. We got a chance to see them in the spring game Saturday. Didn't get to see the scrimmages, but it sounds like Jake Merklinger had some good moments in Tennessee's 2 scrimmages that were closed. We think these 2 guys can – I mean, Tennessee was a fringe college football playoff team in a lot of people's eyes with Nico Iamaleava. How good can this team be with one of these 2 guys at quarterback, and what did you see from them in the spring game Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sky's still the limit for this team. I mean, I think anything that they want to get is still achievable, but they're just going to have to work a little bit harder. I mean, obviously, it's not the setback that you wanted to happen. You don't want to lose your star quarterback rolling into a big season off a playoff entry. But at the end of the day, you know, we train and we teach these guys everything that they need to know, and we continue to work on them even if they aren't the guy at the time. So these guys have been working hard. They've had a really productive spring. I mean, for some of them being their first spring in here, I mean, I think they've put it together well. It's a difficult offense to learn. But, I mean, from what I've seen, they both look pretty crisp and sharp. I think there's more issues that align with maybe some missed snaps and some other things that can cause some heightened highlighted looks of some issues that really aren't there. But at the end of the day, I think both of them are going to continue to compete. I saw some really crisp passes out of Merklinger. Yeah. And then, you know, McIntyre looked good out there, especially some of his running opportunities. He looked like he was able to kind of get out there and do some things to get himself more yardage. So, I mean, it's just, you know, it's still somewhat of an unknown, I guess, because we haven't gotten to see a ton of them. The focus this spring, obviously, it was a little bit on them, but it was mostly on Nico and his development. So now we got to shift gears and try to start focusing on where these guys are at. And I think they're at a good spot for coming off of their spring. I mean, they're still freshmen, they're still young, but they're going to continue to advance this summer. And I think one of them can still hold strong for a really good season this year if that's where they decide to go.
Yeah, Saturday didn't look like Merklinger's best day. Someone who unofficially kept stats because there were no official stats for the spring game had him 6 of 15. I think he had the ugly interception on the 4th down deep ball that was kind of an arm punt basically. And then you had McIntyre, I think was 12 of 16. Pretty efficient, but again, it's a spring game, a lot of guys out. You're working, you're mixing against the 2s and 3s at different times. So how much can you take from that? I don't know, but for one day at least, McIntyre looked pretty good, and Merklinger apparently had a good spring, so there are reasons to be optimistic about both. Before we move on any further, please like and subscribe to this channel. Be sure to continue to get content like this sent to your feed, and we will have additional, obviously, conversation about this situation in the coming weeks as Tennessee finds a new quarterback to move into the 2025 season, whatever it might be, a new starter or a new backup. With that being said, let's get into a few players that caught your attention or had good springs overall. I know you look at the offensive line, but I think these are guys that legitimately had good springs. What do you? Where would you start with some of the guys that caught your attention or had good springs from what you've heard?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a guy that some fans might know fairly well at this point, Sham Umarov. I've heard some really good things about this spring that he had this year. I think they've moved him completely to guard now, which I think works better for him. You know, when you get in the tackle position, it's a lot more space that you have to manage, a lot more of isolation and on an island. When you're in that guard position, especially at his size, I mean, he can swallow up that gap and really, I think, use his tools well there at the guard position. And it sounded like he really excelled this spring and went the direction that they needed him to. And so I'm looking forward to see maybe hearing more of Sham's name throughout the season. And I mean, potentially even fighting for that starting position with Sam, Pendleton, and Wendell Moe. So
yeah, and this one's not, I'll let you put this one up. It's not maybe a guy that's going to start this year, but a guy that I think a lot of people are excited about after his move to safety, Caleb Beasley. It sounds like he's kind of found a home either at the safety position or star. In the secondary, I think that's a big deal. He's a talented guy, made a lot of plays in high school at Lipscomb Academy in Nashville. At cornerback seemed like that maybe wasn't an ideal fit. There was a need there this spring, and the fact they moved him to safety told me they really believe safety is his best fit. So I think they kind of found a home for him, whether it's at safety or star. He could be maybe the number 2 star behind Boo Carter, but I think that was a promising development for Tennessee in the secondary to find a home for him and find another second-year guy that's capable of helping back there.
Yeah, no, and it's always great when you can move a guy around and find a better home for him. But another guy that I'm going to talk about, not a lot of people know about, he's still young, Jesse Perry. Obviously didn't get to play in the spring game, had some injury issues, but from what I've heard, he's had a really productive spring. From what I've saw, he looks more complete. You know, it's funny, it's a similar story to mine, coming from a triple option high school, don't know much about pass pro and all this stuff. It seems like he's really kind of taken the time to put in the work, figure out the techniques, and he's starting to really put it together. And I think he's even competing for a starting job this year in the offensive line, and that's huge for a second-year guy. So to see a guy who didn't have the complete training in high school like some of the guys have, like I didn't have, and being able to progress at a fast rate like this is exciting.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you throw in that little dose of athleticism that he has. It makes it a lot easier to pull around to different schemes and stuff like that, and make a more mobile offensive line, which is, I think, something that they've really been trying to build these last few years.
Dark horse contender for a starting job. Don't write him off for sure. William Satterwhite at center,
yes.
Jesse Perry at right guard might be the decision that it comes down to for that final spot with the 2 transfers in there. So we'll see what it is in the coming weeks. Tennessee's done with spring practice, but not done with the drama. Will it be a portal starter or a portal guy to throw into the competition? We'll see. Give me a prediction. What do you think they end up doing?
See, my plan, if I was the coach, would be to go get a portal guy. However, if there was a top shelf guy, I mean, that top shelf tequila always looks pretty good, So, I mean, it's up in the air. I think you get the best option that's out there that fits for what the team's going for. There you go.
I think there's still a chance they go this route, but you got to find one that's willing to do it, and you got to find the right fit. So it's going to be fascinating. Obviously, we'll be talking about this for a while to come, but that's sort of a wrap on spring practice. Thank you, Ollie Lane. For Ollie, I'm Ryan Callahan, right here on the Sports Source Digital Network. We'll be back in the coming weeks to discuss this again at some point when Tennessee has some finality to its quarterback situation.